Joining me now, former FBI Special Agent Clint Watts, I wish that was my title, and former prosecutor and civil litigator John Kelly. John, before we talk about Mike Flynn, I want to talk about President Trump retaining attorney Mark Kasowitz, who he's known for 10, 15 years. The fact that he's retained outside counsel, does that tell you anything?
Well, no, it's a smart move. You want someone that's kept at, the pulse leading up to events, and rather than search to find someone if he needs counsel down the road, get him now, get him on board, listening, monitoring things, and it's no indication of any guilt or fear of anything. And I think this is getting mixed up with the references to a war room being set up in the White House. I think it's not so much a war room, but rapid response. The White House wants to be organized and be able to respond to these, Russian collusion allegations and have one uniform voice and, sort of get rid of all the extraneous noise going on there.
There's a lot of law firms out there. Does it say anything to you that it's the same law firm that Joe Lieberman was a part of, and the fact that Joe Lieberman, a potential candidate to head up the FBI, does that seem strange to you?
Yeah, in general, I think it's a bad idea to have politicians become the FBI director. We don't want anybody that's ever taken money for votes to ultimately become the leader of what's supposed to be a very independent investigative body. It's better to have someone usually that's a former prosecutor, former FBI agent, or investigator of some sort lead that kind of an organization. I think you're always going to run into those conflicts anytime you're bringing someone over from a political position.
From a legal perspective, the Senate Intelligence Committee subpoenaing 2 of Mike Flynn's companies because they want to get documents that Mike Flynn himself wouldn't provide. Can they get them in spite of the fact that he's pleading the Fifth?
Oh, absolutely. The Fifth Amendment affords no protection to business documents or records, especially those that were generated before the subpoena was issued. Fifth Amendment protects individuals from being compelled to testify going forward. So, for example, even if Flynn had confessed to crimes to someone else in the past or signed statements or something, those are still admissible, those are still subpoenable, but business records also they're going to be produced, and the committees will get them.
Why would he plead the Fifth?
I think it's ultimately going to come down to his lobbying. It may not be so much about the Russia connection and the attendance of the RT dinner, but with Turkey and the fact that he took significant lobbying fees from it. And this is also, I think, a classic challenge for those coming out of the military. You got to remember General Flynn was in for 30 years or so, then moving into the business sector and not really understanding the connections between those. He definitely should have understood that you don't take money from a foreign government, but I don't think he understands all the documentation, how that differs from his past career.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I think what's ultimately going to play out, Stephanie, is Flynn's going to be subpoenaed, by congressional committees. He's going to indicate he's taking the Fifth, which he's done. These committees are going to carve out immunity deals for him and call him in. He's going to appear there, still take the Fifth Amendment, and then Mueller and Justice are going to have to make a decision like North and Iran-Contra back in '86, whether to prosecute him for obstruction of justice. So, I mean, it's a few moves away, but I think it's what's going to happen ultimately. It might not be for 6 months or so, but I think you have a showdown coming down with Flynn and DOJ.
If it's a few moves away, how long is this thing going to take?
Oh, I think it'll be a year. I mean, ultimately, before a lot of this even comes out. A special counsel, going through this procedure now with former Director Mueller is going to take quite some time. He's going to build up, he's going to staff, they're going to do evidence generation. I mean, most counterintelligence investigations are in multiple years in a traditional FBI sense. This doesn't happen quickly. So the public is going to get frustrated at a certain point because it's going to move very slow, and a lot of it is going to go behind closed doors.
Then if you were advising Mike Flynn right now, what would you tell him to do?
Stay quiet,
You think pleading the Fifth was the right move?
Oh, absolutely. And he's going to be boxed in. Even when he's called before a committee and offered an immunity deal, he's still got to plead the Fifth because they can claim there's independent evidence, removed from his immunity deal. They can still prosecute him on. So it's a no-win situation.
But if he didn't do anything,
right?
Why not just tell your story?
Well, it appears even on the face of it there was some deceit, at least, in filling out, a financial disclosure form. So, if nothing else, there's a whiff of it there. So he's better off just taking the Fifth and being quiet.
You agree?
The irony in all of this is every statement that the Trump campaign made last year, they are now guilty of. Incompetence. This is a classic sign of an incompetent new administration trying to maybe hide a scandal that wasn't even a scandal ultimately. You also heard him say, lock her up. If you plead the fifth, then you're obviously guilty. I mean, they have put their foot in the mouth inside of a year on every single thing that they have said.
That's the whole thing, and you said those things on tape. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate your time this morning.